All right, a very good morning to you and welcome to Burgami, Vision FM, Vision 92.1 FM's flagship current affairs program. I am Abbas Umar Farouk, your host, and we're here to explore pressing national issues in a way that is thought-provoking, analytic, incisive, and fully engaging. Today's topic is one that cuts to the heart of public trust in Nigeria's judicial system, the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. Joining us today will be two distinguished guests, Barrister Nnameka Ejiofor, an experienced Abuja-based legal practitioner from Nnameka Ejiofor and Associates, and we'll be expecting Barrister Suleiman Gimba. For the first 30 minutes, I'll be in conversation with our guests, followed by an open line for you, our listeners, to join in. And finally, our guests will have a chance to respond to the concerns you raised. The topic today is the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. We'll take a short break. When we return, I'll give you the background. All right, welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Burgami Classic, and the topic of discussion this morning is the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. Here's the background. Recently, Nigeria's Chief Justice Kudirat Kekere-Ekun, addressed a critical issue in our justice system, pointing out that while most judges uphold the law with integrity, a small minority have stained judiciary's reputation. Speaking at a forum on ethics, morality, and the law organized by the Movement for Islamic Culture and Awareness, Justice Kekere-Ekun emphasized the judiciary's role in balancing legal obligations with ethical standards. She reiterated her commitment to a zero-tolerance approach to corruption and highlighted the legal practitioners play an essential role in upholding public trust. Today we delve into the implications of judicial corruption on public perception, the rule of law, and society at large. Our guests will help us explore these issues in depth, examining both the challenges and the pathways to restoring faith in Nigeria's judicial system. Justice system. Welcome back. There you have the background. In the studio, I have Barrister Nnameka Ejiofor, Abuja-based legal practitioner at Nnameka Ejiofor and Associates. We also have Barrister Suleiman Hassan Gimba. He's with Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. Good morning. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much.
All right, you've heard the background. Let's start with Barrister Ejiofor. As someone with legal system, within the legal system, what are your thoughts? What are your initial thoughts on the allegations of corruption within Nigeria's judiciary? Are they isolated incidents, or do they reflect a more systemic issue?
Well, thank you very much. Well, I must start by saying that a country or a nation has the institutions it deserves. If you are in a country like Nigeria, you will notice that most of the things we do it the Nigerian way. It is different from the way people in Britain would do. It is different from the way people in China would do. What some of us may consider corruption here in Nigeria may not be corruption in China or in England. For instance, in Nigeria, if a judge, for instance, is having a child dedication or a burial funeral ceremony for his loved one, and you visit and give a fat envelope, we see it as a normal thing in Nigeria ordinarily. You know, that's the way we condone with those who have lost loved ones. But I'm sure when you do that in England or in China especially, they are most likely going to execute you. So what may form corruption in a particular society might differ from what forms corruption in the other. Now, Nigeria, I must tell you, is not a case of isolated incidents of corruption. The society itself, the Nigerian society itself, I'm sorry to say it, is embedded in corruption. Virtually everything you do in Nigeria, if you don't patronize somebody, if you don't give out money or give out one favor or the other, you might not get the results that you deserve. I can even tell you an example of a man who wants to build a road as donation to the community. And the road is supposed to be a government road. He told the government, I want to do this road. You know, before it was even approved, the man almost was asked to, you have to go and see the director, you have to see this person, you have to see that person. At the end of the day, the man said, look, I'm doing a donation to you. Why would I go and see anybody? If you don't want me to do it, then I'll leave it. You see? So, Nigeria is a special country. Somebody has described us as fantastically corrupt people. We tried to change it, but unfortunately, the administration that came in that tried to change it became worse than those that came in before it. And the situation has not changed even in this current environment that we're. So, the corruption in the judiciary is the same thing with those in the larger society. It goes beyond just what we are seeing. It's in depth. It's in our blood system. Okay? It's in our blood system. So sometimes people have complained that even to get a date in court, they had to, beg and issue and, do handouts. Sometimes to get them to even give you a hearing notice. Go and ask, say, look, issue me with hearing notice. Oga, you have to find out something. So it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's not only in the judiciary, it's everywhere. Even in our private lives. Go to buy fuel from a filling station. The fuel attendant will ask you to pay money if you want to be served in gallon. You are buying a product from him. He's asking you to give him extra money because he's going to serve it to you in a keg. That's corruption. So it's everywhere in our blood system. And sometimes I begin to wonder whether we should just nationalize it and say, look, just be corrupt and let everybody go home and stop disturbing our sanity. Travel along our roads. Every checkpoint is that's why if you see those in the checkpoint, they have bulgy pockets, all sides of their trousers filled with money. Sometimes now they engage those boys who sell pure water along the roads to be their collector. If you go to checkpoints managed by security agencies, you see those boys that sell pure water. All of them are not selling pure water. Some of them are actually the collecting agent for the security agents that are manning those roadblocks. So, yeah, it's in our system. It's in our DNA. It's the way we are.
All right. It's a systemic issue. All right, Barrister Gimba, from CISLAC's perspective, how do you think judicial corruption affects public trust and the broader rule of law in Nigeria?
All right. Thank you for having me. First of all, I think the essence of law is for the maintenance of law and order in the society. And the judiciary is seen as the last hope of the common man. I agree with the fellow guest here that corruption is somehow embedded into the system and it's deep. But the judiciary, based on the principles that established it, is supposed to be neutral, impartial, and then free from all these acts of corruption. Because once judges are involved in issues that like corruption, the public trust in the system will be extinguished, and then any hope of the country being revived will also be extinguished. And then, if you look at it historically, I think some of the issues that also encourage it is because one, the judiciary, most of them see themselves as employees of the executive instead of an equal arm of government. The judiciary, executive, and legislature are supposed to be equal. For the legislature, because they work on the budget, they always find a way to make things happen for themselves, padding the budget, increasing budget for the legislative arm. While, for instance, the judiciary have not had a salary increment in over 10 or 15 years before the recent increment. So these things make them financially handicapped and then subject to being influenced into corrupt practices by the executive or other high-powered individuals. And then you also have issues of some bribes that may not necessarily be bribes but directed to the judiciary, which is supposed to be impartial. For instance, land belonging to Julius Berger was collected from them. And then what they decided to do with that land is to build housing estate for the members of the judiciary, for the judges. And then ordinarily now Julius Berger is supposed to come to the judiciary to seek redress. But what will happen in this instance where the judiciary is also part of that system? So if the judiciary, I agree that other arms of government, other agencies can be corrupt, but the judiciary needs to be sanitized if we are to revive any hope of restoring confidence in this country and the system that we are practicing.
All right, thank you very much. Barrister Jofo, in what ways does corruption impact the administration of justice, particularly in how cases are decided and the perception of fairness in the courts?
Well, Gimba has said it all. You revoke my land, you give it to a judge that I'm supposed to go and complain to. What justice will I ever get, if not the justice of God? In Nigeria, this is our beloved country, the corruption in the judiciary has made it to be like a nightmare going to court. Nobody actually wants to go to court. Nobody. The only thing is that because we have no other choice, we just manage as, okay, let's go to court. And then some people go to these courts. Of course, going to court ordinarily should have been the last hope of the common man. But you also hear a situation where people will tell you justice is for sale, that people have bought order or bought judgments of courts. In the political arena, once you give judgment, they tell you, he got a backyard judgment. So many of them have said it, that he went and got a backyard order or backyard injunction. But this is to show that the people don't have any confidence anymore in our judiciary. Those who go to court are just going in because, well, this is the only thing we can do. We can't do any other thing. We can't fight this man. He's bigger than me. He's richer than me. He has more money. So let me just go to court. Whatever the court says, I will take. He is going to court not because he has confidence or trust in our courts, but because he has no other thing to do or say. It's either you go to court or you leave it for God. Now, I'll give you another example. A situation where somebody has a case in court and the matter lasts for 10 years, 15 years. What is the justice is the person expecting from that court? Now, do you know some people? Because, and when I say court, please, I include lawyers like myself, lawyers like Gimba, Nigerian Bar Association, not just the judges. I also include the registrars of court, the clerks, the messengers. They are all involved in this topic. A situation where you know you have a bad case. You know you shouldn't even have gone to court. But because you want to teach the other man a lesson, the lawyers engage in the tactics of delay or hide and seek, and then they tell you, look, the best is, if you want to win this case, the best is to frustrate it. I mean, where is that in our legal system? Where your tactics is to frustrate the other person. You are not doing it because you are following any law, but because you want to delay the course of justice. And you know, when you delay the course of justice, you are already denying the course of justice. And maybe the other person may not have the wherewithal, the resources, the strength, the stamina to compete with you to the end. So some people at the end of the day will say, okay, since this case has started now, it has lasted 2 years, we have not called witness, I just leave it for God. You will see somebody who has the need for justice abandoning his case because the other person or the other party is frustrating him. Now, you also have a situation where in our judicial system, the judges, they fix a date for a case, for instance, very serious cases, only for the judge to come, a message to come in and say, sorry, my lord was sent on an errand by maybe the administrative judge or by maybe the chief judge. Sorry, he cannot hear your case. You will not take another adjournment for like 3 months. This is somebody who is in detention, for instance. Is that not the judge or the whoever that sent the judge frustrating this fellow who is in detention? Go to Kuje, go to Kefi prison, go to Suleja prison, go to Kafri, go to what's it? The one in Kogi. People are there languishing in detention. Why would somebody be in prison, for instance, and his matter is today, and the prison officer say we cannot bring him to court because we have no fuel? Is that not another corruption, another way to punish somebody, to delay justice? Anything you do to delay justice is corruption. Anything you do to gain unfair advantage over the other person is corruption. Anything you do to punish somebody beyond what the law provides for is corruption. Somebody is, for instance, stole a bottle of water. If he's found guilty, he's to go to prison for 6 months. Now he's in a waiting trial for 3 years, serving a sentence beyond the sentence the other would have served if he had been found guilty. And yet our constitution says this man is innocent until proved guilty. So you have detained an innocent man for 3 years without finding him guilty, without granting him bail. Go to Wawa military barracks in Niger State. Nigerians in their hundreds are detained in Wawa military barracks, Niger State, Kanji. No trial. No trial. When I say no trial, no single trial. Some of them they gave them a detention, what they call detention order for 90 days. 90 days expired maybe 4 years ago. The person is still in detention. No trial. I have a lot of people in detention who in Wawa military base who are victims. I know them by name. I know some of them by face.
Right.
I have judgments of court, judgments of Federal High Court, Enugu, judgments of Federal High Court, Abuja here, directing DSS, for instance, and the Nigerian Army, release these people. Those orders have not been obeyed. Why? Because the DSS is superior to our courts.
All right, this question is for both of you. Do you think Nigeria's judiciary is truly independent, or is it vulnerable to external influences that can compromise its impartiality? When
Nigerian judiciary was independent was in the days of Justice Elias, the old Justice Ademola, in those 1950s, 1960s. But for now, they are not. We are in a dispensation where, with a phone call, you can order a judgment. With a phone call from an executive, they would come and tell you, look, my lord, the governor is not happy with the way things are going in this court. His Excellency is not happy. A commissioner, an ordinary commissioner, will be telling the High Court judge of so many years standing that, His Excellency, the governor, who was elected just 3 years ago as governor, will be telling a judge, Your Excellency is not happy with the way this case is going. And then you come to court the next day, and then you see that the judge automatically changes. And you begin to wonder, what happened? Only for maybe the clerk or registrar, yesterday when you left, the commissioner was here.
All right,
then you now begin to ask yourself, sorry my brother, you now begin to ask yourself, this course of justice that we are pursuing, Is it course of justice in accordance with law or course of justice in accordance with the way the executive wants it? A situation where a chief judge of a state will tell you, look, we are in partnership with government. We are going to work hand in hand with government to make sure this administration succeeds. That is not the position of the judge of the court to say, or the chief judge even to mention. If you are in partnership with the government, who you know is a constant party before your courts, then what are you going to do to me, a citizen, who also have cases in your court? You have already announced to the world that you are in partnership with the government to make sure their policy works, to make sure the administration succeeds. That is not your function. You should be an impartial umpire. But now you have taken side already, and you have announced to the world that this is my party, we are in partnership, and that is why Fela say, na party government will they do. And that is everywhere from 19 whatever. So it is still on. A situation where, I'm sorry, let me not take all the time so that my friend can also say something.
Okay, thank you. The judiciary is independent on paper in Nigeria, that is, but I believe there are things that affect the independence of the Nigerian judiciary. One is funding, because the judiciary totally relies on the executive for funding. It's not independent. If the judiciary can be made to have its own independent budget and be a part of the budget process properly, then it can be said to be independent. Another issue now is the issue of appointment of judges. Judges are nominated by president and then confirmed by the legislative arm, and it's the same thing in this state. And though it's the same in other countries elsewhere, I think we have to look at the Nigerian situation and make something that the appointment of judges comes internally. For instance, now the CJN is the head of the judiciary. He is to the judiciary what the president is to the executive, and then what the Senate president is to the legislature. So based on that, he is the chairman of the National Judicial Council, and then he is also the chairman of the Federal Judicial Service Commission. And these are like the main agencies of the judicial arm. But if you look at it now, what happened with the former CJN of Nigeria, Onogen, his lordship Onogen, he was removed based on the recommendation of the NJC on suspicion of corruption. And then recently the court acquitted him. After so many years, he was disgraced out of office because they couldn't see eye to eye with the executive at the time. And then now he has been acquitted by the court. So if you look at all these happenings, you can say that the judiciary is not independent in Nigeria. And the instances like this need to be avoided. If the number one person in the judiciary can be disgraced in such a manner, taken to the courts, lower courts, that is, that he's supposed to be superior to, even though nobody should be above the law, but there are instances where things like this should never happen in it.
How can we then ensure accountability within the judiciary, and what should bodies like the National Judicial Council do to prevent and address unethical behavior?
Okay, first of all, I think that we need to first improve our case management. For instance, the Administration of Criminal Justice Act has given instances where cases can be tried on a day-by-day basis, so that trials can be expedited. But we don't see instances like this. Instead, trials take years and without proper, because that's even at the lower courts before appeals. And then we need to also look at introducing technology into the judicial system so as to minimize human involvement and human error. For instance, in some countries, even South Africa, they have note-taking machines. As the trial is going on, it's writing what is happening. Here, the judge has to write. It's like a student. Every day you go, you write from morning to evening when the court closes.
Pen and paper.
Pen and paper. You can imagine how slow that is. And then even though recently we made provisions for online trial where you can join through Zoom, so I think improvements are being made. Then we also need to make provisions for transparency and accountability, especially in the acceptance of filing fees. Who does it go to? And then when you pay fines or bail bonds to the judiciary, what happens to all these things. They need to be more accountable in this regard. And then the other issue now is the issue of funding. We don't have enough. We don't have enough courtrooms, and then we also don't have enough judges. And because this is subject to the approval of the executive arm, it's impeding justice. And then we have the issue of election tribunals as well. Once you become the president and then appoint your own judges, or you have state power over the judiciary, it will be very difficult for you if you have stolen the mandate to be booted out. So we need to find a way to make election tribunals conclude before the swearing in of the president or the governor.
All right, thank you very much. Barrister Ejiofor, how do allegations of corruption influence the public's perception of the judiciary, and what impact might this have on Nigeria's future stability?
Well, the public perception is low, and that is why they will tell you, in most cases, why should I go to court? If I go to court now, how many years will it take for this case to come to conclusion? And a lot of people will prefer, look, instead of going to court, let's just settle. Or let's just leave it for God, as the case may be. So public perception is absolutely very, very low. And then you also, recently you were hearing when some people will call some people Supreme Court governor. It means this governor is not elected by us. It was rather given to us by the Supreme Court. So they now call the governor Supreme Court governor. This is a clear example of a situation where the people, the ordinary man in the street, has come to understand and agree that the judges were wrong. But because they are Supreme Court, there is no other place you can appeal it to except to God. And that is why, apart from eye service, people will, when they see that governor, they will be like, now Supreme Court governor, not be our governor. Now, public perception is also very, very low. And that is why you hear a situation where an order of court is made, they will tell you he got it from the back door. It tells you that we do not trust this order. You must have either given bribe or you must have connived with the judge to give us this order. And I've not seen or heard of anybody who was invited to explain what he or she meant by you got this order from the back door. And once you don't invite them to come and explain it, it goes without saying that he who is silent must have given his consent. You understand? So, you also have cases where I have a matter, for instance, in Anambra. I will run to Zamfara court to get an order against what happened in Anambra State. You understand? When you do that, people will begin to think, what do you have in Zamfara? Why do you have so much confidence in Zamfara than in Anambra where the thing happened? In most cases, you see these things during the political era, when political parties will leave the state where the problem is and run to Zamfara, or run to Sokoto, or run to Kano, or run to Port Harcourt to get their orders. The question now is, why those selected, or why do you choose those places? Is it because you have an upper hand there? Because if you have an upper hand there, it means it's no longer law we're talking about, rather your influence, where you can command. Okay? You also have a situation where a judge in Sokoto gives an order. The one in KB will give a counter order on the same issue, on the same fact, on the same people. So all these are examples of the perception, the way people see our courts, that these things don't really function. It's either to the highest bidder or to the person who has the most influence, you know. And they keep doing it in this way to the detriment of the psychic of the nation, to the detriment of our international image. I will give you another example. Maybe I will use the case of Nnamdi Kanu. I didn't want to mention it, but maybe I will use it. In the whole of the Commonwealth country, there is no court, no judgment of court on what you call extraordinary rendition. Like in his case, he was kidnapped from Kenya, brought into Nigeria. Supreme Court has said it and held it that was wrong, that was kidnapping, and that it was criminal of Nigeria to have done that. Now, They have done this. But what happened? In other countries, all the judgments, all the authorities we had in that court, for instance, pointed to the fact that you cannot try this kind of a person. You cannot prosecute him in your country until you do the correct thing. But here in Nigeria, what do we have? We have a different scenario where the court say, well, even though we did wrong, we just bypass that wrong and let's continue with the case. So you are putting a wrong thing on a wrong foundation, or you are putting something on a wrong foundation and you're expecting it to stand. Meanwhile, you are giving us the judicial authority in Mark 4 against UAC that you cannot put something on nothing and expect it to stand. You cannot build on illegality. But in Nigeria, we can build on illegality and say, okay, just manage it. Let's go on. And that is why it's difficult to move in that case.
All right, thank you very much to our guests, Barrister Nnameka Ejiofor and Barrister Suleiman Gimba, for those insightful responses. At this point, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll open the phone lines for you, our listeners, to call in and share your thoughts or ask questions on today's topic: the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. Please stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.
Constructive, appealing, engaging, people, issues, and dimension on Burgami. The converging point for Nigerians at breakfast on the Burgami table. Join the wagon and be more.
Vision 92.1.
Burgami.
All right, welcome back. It's still Burgami Classic here on Vision FM 92.1. Now, the phone lines are open, and we'd love to hear from you. Please feel free to call in and share your views or questions for our guest, Barrister Nnameka Ejiofor and Barrister Suleiman Gimba in the studio. Let's hear your thoughts on how corruption within the judiciary affects our society and what can be done to address it. Let's remember to be constructive and keep our contributions under 2 minutes to give room for all our callers. All right, the topic of discussion this morning is the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. We have a first caller. Good morning. Good morning. What's your name and where are you calling from? Sorry, you said?
Frederick, calling you from Jabi.
Frederick from Jabi. All right, go on.
All right, there I see your guest there. Very interesting topic this morning. My brother, first of all, let me say one thing. No nation can grow beyond the capacity of its justice system. Why Nigeria is the way it is today is because the administration of justice and our legal system has been really different. I'm happy with the people in there in your studio. You asked them one question about the independence of the judiciary. My brother, there is no independence of the judiciary in Nigeria for a very long time. The truth here is that you don't believe the judges or the justice system and stuff like that. Now we have very bad politicians in Nigeria that have manipulated and monopolized the system. The legal system cannot function effectively. What are we talking about? The rule of law.
Lost that call. Frederick, I hope you call back and finish your point. The studio line is still 091-677-09564. The topic is the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Samuel Abu from Kogi State.
Samuel.
Abu from Kogi State.
All right. How are you doing this morning, Samuel?
I'm fine.
All right. Go on, please.
Yes, we are discussing about the rottenness in our society, especially in the judiciary.
That's right.
In fact, if anything happens to the judiciary, especially concerning corruption, this is a great and wonderful thing that can happen to a nation. I had one of your guests say that it has become a system. It has become part of our life. Corruption. Because when you go to India, when you go to China or wherever, what we term as corruption here is not corruption there. No, I disagree totally with that. If we want Nigeria to be a better place for other nations to emulate, we have to abandon corruption. What is the religion we are practicing in Nigeria? Christianity, Muslim, what are we practicing? What are we teaching in our churches? What are our leaders? When they want to do some ceremonies, they go to the church. When they want to do one thing or the other, they go to the church. Even when they want to do campaign for the election, they go to church and mosque. And with the love of God, or the love of ourselves is in our hearts. How should we continue in sin? How can we not change all these narratives? Because I'm saying this because this corruption of a thing. Let it start from home. Let it start from our religious ground. That is the Christianity and the Muslim alike. So if our leaders will not follow Christianity or Muslim, and they say that corruption is part of our life, when the election is announced, even before the election is announced, they say go to court. And court is not a way to be trusted anymore in Nigeria. Corruption has eaten deep in our life. If we cannot correct it, I think there is no solution to our problem. We will never find solution to our problem. So let us try and follow exactly what God asked us to do. I think corruption will be minimized in our lives, in the society, in Nigeria. God bless you and God bless Nigeria. Thank you.
All right, God bless you too, my brother. Thank you for calling in. Samuel Abu from Kogi State. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Abdullahi Sharubutu, and I'm calling for about this. Let me greet your two guests for their wonderful analysis. You see, one thing that has become a challenge in this whole Nigeria, as it concerns the judiciary, is that the judiciary has compromised and so allowing themselves to be always robbed by the politicians. One of the guests talked about him who pays the power to pay the tone when the executives are the ones that are always saying these judicial officers. So the question is, the independence of the judiciary has been compromised since it comes to this so-called democracy. Why is it so? Because these people who are politicians, they have taken too much strides into digging deeper to bringing down the judiciary in Nigeria. And this whole issue will not be rectified until there is need for independence of the judiciary. The independence of the judiciary will not come with just like no, it doesn't that way. The judicial officer, whether senior judicial officer, must do the needful and making sure they have what I refer to as due diligence in most of their activities. So other guests also talk about arrests being done, by military officers, by security officers around Nigeria. These are facts already outside there. Most of us, we are spent time with that number, that there is need for re-change of this ideas of security agencies just dealing with people without recourse to knowing what the laws talk or say about all these human rights. And until the judiciary took a step on a very wonderful step to say, if they want to do the right thing, they will continue to live in this manner. Because this judiciary we have in the system. That's my contribution, and have a wonderful day. Bye for now.
Thank you very much, Abdullahi Sharabutu. The role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. Good morning.
Hello, this is Frederick calling you back, sorry.
All right, Frederick, go on, please.
Yeah, so you see, like I was saying, nepotism, sir, they said nepotism is worse than corruption. Am I wrong? I'm just throwing a question at you, sir.
You are correct, sir.
Huh?
You are correct, sir.
Nepotism is worse than corruption. Thank you. Now, you see, that is part and parcel of the problems that we have within the judiciary as well. That is part and parcel of the problem. So you can have, in fact, let me tell you, you see, I sat down with some people of recent, they were talking about the independence of the judiciary and all that. The increment, 300% increment for judges. Houses for judges, after being paid and all that. What are the reasons behind all this? This is part of the corruptive tendencies of the politicians that we are talking about. Because they serve their interest. And as a judge, you're not supposed to allow, declare your sense of reason to this extent. Just like that, you get said. How can you be openly operating with a politician? Just like operating when the CDN was in Lagos in Sanwo-Olu's party. That's very wrong. You're supposed to be, in fact, you know what? The issue here is that the selective justice, the techniques facilitated by politicians, connivance, conspiracy with the judges, and a relegated free tendency of the judiciary becoming better in this country. So it can function properly. Just like I told you, I said, once there is no separation of power, the executive will always influence upon the interest of the judiciary as a result of their political activities. Now that is what, in fact, kills every other activity with the judiciary. And that is very wrong. Now, having said, let me be sincere to you. You can see what happened to Justice Sonogan. The case was decided, acquitted or so, right? Mm-hmm. Now, for the very time, we've been discussing about what has been made to that man was wrong. That was very wrong. We've been complaining, we've talked about that. But they've been trying to prove to us that there was nothing wrong about it, unfortunately. Now, look at it this day. But it's still not different because let me be sincere to you. The worst thing is that the person in the judiciary today was a person. Now, how can you be having justice won or decided on technicalities in Nigeria, not justice? For God's sake, justice on technicalities. That is what these people have been given up operation of all this while. Now, that is everything, which is very, very wrong. I can still give you an example with that of the case of the innocent governor till it state, my brother, that thing baffles me every day. Because corruption has eaten totally in us. It's like a malignant cancer that has eaten our bone marrow. And solving that has to start with sanitizing the system politically. Because the judges can't do that alone. They work in connivance with the politicians. And these are people that are supposed to strengthen and consolidate our judiciary. Unfortunately, they are the ones totally bastardizing the judicial system in this country. So we have to sanitize the system by bringing a breed of politicians, proper politicians, that will help in sanitizing the system. I believe a lot of judges are good. Only few among them. But the ones that have been compromised by politicians are the ones that are supposed to be sanitized to lead the system, so that we'll have a better system of justice in this country. Thank you, bro.
All right, thank you very much, Frederick, for calling back.
Thank you. Thank you.
Very well appreciated. You can do well to call as well. The phone line is open. The topic is the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. The studio line is 091-677-09564. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning.
Yes,
My
welcome.
my name is Elvis. Thanks to our...
Please, can you be more audible so we can hear you clearly?
Yeah, my name is Elvis.
All right, Elvis.
Yes, thanks to our girls in the house.
Where are you calling from, Elvis?
I'm calling from Abuja.
All right. No, the location in Abuja, please.
Okay, from Abuja.
From Abuja, all right. All right.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing well this morning.
Yeah, thank you very much.
All right, go on.
My contribution to our topic in question is that we have a high level of democratic events in our society. And even as we speak, the society is left with no residues of conscience. And that is the major factor where we find ourselves for the country where we are today. If you have morals, you will know, you'll be able to differentiate between what is right and what is wrong. And if you have conscience, you'll be able to know that the steps you are taking does not in any way add value to humanity. It's unfortunate that the judiciary find themselves, in the same angle like every other individual or every other aspect of the government, which ought not to be so. I grew up knowing that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man, but even as we speak presently, it's no longer the last hope of the common man. The judiciary has become, an institution where the highest bidder gets it all, and it's ought not to be so. And if this nation continue in this way and manner as it is now, then it means we are aiming to, we are like a time bomb waiting to get exploded, which is. So my advice is that the judiciary, they should retract their steps. Let the saying that they are the last hope of the common man, let us have it, being played out. Let's learn from other countries. Take a look at the United States. If it were to be in Nigeria where somebody like Trump comes out to contest for an election, you and I know that he's not going to win. Because the government in power will never let it be. And even as we speak, we are not heard of any of the parties now going to court. The reason is that they know that the judiciary will do the right thing. But in Nigeria, just like one of our callers said, issues happened in River State, and you are coming to bringing it to Abuja because you know that you have power in Abuja. You have cases happening in Nasarawa State, and you are taking it to Kaduna. What happens to the judiciary in Kaduna, in Nasarawa State? So all these things, it shows that it is where you have influence and where you know your money can go for. That is where people go to. So I will beg with our country, I will beg with our judiciary to stand firm. Before now, if you read the authorities.
Elvis, I think you are really out of time. Let's give room for...
From other jurisdictions, where they make references to our justices of the Supreme Court, but it's no longer so. So my advice is that the judiciary should stand firm and actually stand as the hope of the common man. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Elvis from Mabushi. We can take We can still take a few more calls before we turn to our guests. The studio line is 09167709564. Good morning, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Good morning, Mr. Abbas. And I wish to thank you for a wonderful presentation. I also wish to appreciate your guests in the studio. My name is Dr. Ibrahim Modibo, calling from the Central District area, Abuja.
All right, go on, sir.
Thank you, Abbas. You see, the danger Nigeria is currently facing is that judiciary is on trial. Honestly and sincerely, people have started losing hope in the judiciary. And the danger is, if people at the end of the day have lost complete hope on the last hope of the common man, we're in a very, very big trouble. From all indications, from the perception of people, I could vividly see, and also based on my own level of research and thinking, I can see that now the judiciary seems to be for the highest bidder. Once you have money, you get justice. So it is no longer justice for the common man. It is justice for the highest bidder. You go and pay, and they give you justice. Now, look at the judgments that have been coming from the judiciary. Let us start by the judgment that came during the senatorial elections of the former Senate President Ahmed Lawal and even Akpabio. People that went to contest for presidency, coming back to reclaim what other people have suffered, paid their money. Do you buy 2 phones at a time? For God's sake, what kind of judiciary do we have? Look at the issue of even Imo that the other man was talking about. Somebody that came third or fourth, you are bringing him to number 1. Why is justice? Look at the issue of River State, Mr. Abbas. The judiciary seems to have been pocketed by Wike. Have you ever had Wike lost any case? He has been buying limousines for the judges. He has been giving them building houses for them, and even giving them money in lieu of houses the people don't want. So how can Wike lose a case, even with the current trend of events where the Chief Justice was there when Wike made a program of building houses for them? It's sad coming true for this country. And also I don't see how the Chief Justice could even go to Owambe, because judges before, you will never see them in a social function. They are reserved. So to me, the best thing to do, Mr. Abbas, if I would suggest, is let us go like the British system or the American system, where after writing judgments, it will be deliberated by a panel of independent people that will comprise retired justices, serving justices, trade union people, students if possible. Put them as a panel, about 7 or 8 people, to study the judgment and come out with a concrete analysis of what is happening. Because we have already started losing hope, losing faith in the judiciary. It is a sad commentary. I just hope and pray that the current Chief Justice will be able to rectify all these things. Otherwise, democracy is in danger and Nigerians have started losing complete faith in the judiciary. May God bless Nigeria. I thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Ibrahim Modibo, for calling on Burgami this morning. Thank you to all our callers for those valuable contributions and perspectives. I think that is our last caller this morning on the program. It is always enlightening to hear from our listeners who bring a range of insights and concerns to the discussion. Now let's turn back to our guests for their reactions and final thoughts on the point raised, Barrister Ejiofor and Barrister Gimba. Our callers have highlighted some critical issues from public trust in the judiciary to the need for stronger accountability measures. I'd like to give you each an opportunity to respond to these concerns and share any final reflections on today's topic, the role of corrupt judges in tarnishing the image of the judiciary. Let's start with Barrister Ejiofor.
Thank you very much. Well, I missed the name of the gentleman that said he doesn't agree with me when I said what is corruption in Nigeria may not be corruption elsewhere. Well, you see, corruption sometimes can be cultural, because the way of life of a people determines what they consider as corrupt. I made an instance that in Nigeria, condoning, going to say sorry to somebody who has lost a loved one or going to attend the marriage or a function organized by somebody, we show appreciation by giving money, envelope, or buying gifts. And when, for instance, I've been in Abuja and I've been practicing this law for, quite some time, maybe more than 26 or 27 years. I've made a lot of friends even among the judges. So if any of them, for instance, is having a function and I'm invited and I go there with a gift, anybody who sees me might say, ordinarily, the Nigerian factor, oh no, he came for the wedding or he came for the burial. But in England, in China, in all those places, you can't do that. If you do that, immediately they begin to destroy you. It's corruption to them. But here it's a way of life. But unfortunately, it can influence some of us and the decisions we take. So we must have that in context, that the way what you might think is corruption, yes, may not be corruption elsewhere. But that does not mean corruption is not universal. Anything you do to influence or to get undue advantage is corruption. Even if it means attending a function and you are doing it with the intention of getting undue advantage. No, that's corruption. I have classmates here in Abuja at the Federal High Court, the FCT High Court and other courts who are judges. I know the way I relate to them. Many of them have not been to the office since they were appointed because I didn't want, especially the ones I have cases before, I didn't want a situation where you come and then somebody will say, I saw him going out of the office of the judge. And then they'll think you've gone there to influence. Meanwhile, you may not have discussed it. So I try to avoid such scenario. And that's what everybody should try to do anyway. Now, to help Nigeria in fighting corruption, give these judges financial independence, please. Give them financial autonomy. Don't build houses for them. Let the judiciary build for themselves what they want to build. Don't even build court houses. Let the judiciary do a budget. Judiciary, take your money. Spend it the way you want to spend it. Spend it as per your budget. Don't go and tell we can build houses for us. The same thing, he built houses for them in River State. Judges' quarters. Those who don't want the house were given money, over 300 and something million naira. Now, if you have case in River State, for instance, against Wike when he was governor, how would you... This is the man who gave you a house. So. The first thing at the back of your mind is that he gave me a good duplex. Or he gave Oscar. Do you remember during Babangida regime when he bought limousine for Supreme Court judges? Concord newspaper in those days challenged it, questioned it. People questioned it. Why would you give judges limousine Mercedes? Why? If not bribery. And of course the judges then were like, no, we want to go to court, and they were challenged. We challenge you to go to court. Let us put you in the witness box. Let us question you with respect to your position as a judge. And now you are taking limousine from a federal government of Nigeria that is party in so many cases before your court. So if I, Nemeka, gives you limousine, and when I have case before you, it should not be bribed now. Or if I build a house for a judge, it shouldn't be bribed. So if you want the judiciary to be independent, financial independence, he who plays the piper dictates the tune. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That is Barrister Nnameka Ejiofor, Abuja-based legal practitioner at Nnameka Ejiofor and Associates. Now let's turn to Barrister Suleiman Gimba. Go on, please.
All right, I would like to agree with my senior colleague here that what might be termed as corruption here in Nigeria might not actually be corruption in other climes. We have issues such as lobbying, which many of us here consider as corruption, but it's quite normal in other countries. It's just the difference is, why are you lobbying? You understand? Other countries mostly like to focus on issues, abortion, gay rights, all these things. While here, mostly is about what I'm going to eat and all that. But they do lobby, and they use that to sometimes fund political candidates that they know they are going to push those issues that they care about. And while here, we do it mostly for what we are going to eat. So they have also spoken about a jury system. I think that is not going to work here in Nigeria. The main reason is we have seen how our primary elections are conducted here, where sometimes even with the presence of EFCC and security agencies, agents still live with what do you call a brown envelope, mostly with hard currency. So it's going to be very hard. And then I want us to also keep eyes on the judiciary, as there is a case that the Supreme Court has reserved judgment on, which is the case of the governor of Kogi State and 15 other governors versus the federal government, where they want the Supreme Court to declare that the EFCC is illegal to operate. So I think this is something we need to actually keep an eye on, because if the EFCC and other anti-corruption agencies are declared as illegal by the court, then what are we even doing in the country again? Because it's like every block that we have led that led us to this place today is going to crumble. So we can't allow that to continue. And then I also want to comment on nepotism. When one of the callers said nepotism is worse than corruption, I don't think it is. Nepotism is a minor aspect of corruption. Corruption is the main thing going on, but and it's getting undue influence through illegal or unlawful means, which can be, that means can be nepotism, can be bribery, can be other things, but corruption is the main thing going on. And then my senior colleague did also mention of Nnamdi Kanu. So I think sometimes you actually don't know if it's the court that is in charge of all these cases or not. One of those instances, apart from that of Nnamdi Kanu, is that of Sowore, Dasuki, and what other person? Zazaki. Yes, they were arrested also and held at the DSS office, but you see, they were released only after the American Congress had a press conference, because Sowore is an American citizen, and then they were released. And then recently also there is the issue of these minors that were arraigned before the Federal High Court, and then the judge went ahead to grant them bail for 10 million naira each. I think sometimes you do wonder if the judges are actually the ones in charge of these political related cases, or it's actually the executive. All right, sorry, we are out of time, so I don't know. I will just round off. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. That is Barrister Suleiman Hassan Gimba with Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. And as we wrap up today's edition of Burgami, we extend our gratitude to our guests, Barrister Nnameka Ejiofor and Barrister Suleiman Gimba, for their valuable insights. Today's discussion has highlighted the challenges and potential solutions for restoring integrity within our judiciary. Clearly, accountability and ethical standards are essential if we are to rebuild public trust in this vital institution. To our listeners, thank you for tuning in and for your thoughtful contributions. We hope that today's conversation has shed light on a critical issue that affects us all. Join us tomorrow as we continue to tackle the issues that matter most to you. Until then, stay informed and stay engaged as we work together towards a just and fair society. The producer for today's edition is Chinedu Chiano. Special thanks to him and have a great day. Good morning.
Burgami.